This episode of Finding Demo Surf Fishing is being brought to you by DS Custom Tackle. The Delaware guys, y'all know I love them. DS Custom Tackle has been doing great things in the market with floats, hooks, rigs, teasers, you name it, they've got some of that great stuff. Something about the sand flea float has been quite hot, and a green little one. I don't know what it is, but certain things like that in this area, they're going really well. And it's not just Florida. Their stuff is doing great in Texas, California, the West Coast, the entire East Coast, up and down. I have seen so many good posts on that. So go on over dscustomtackle.com, take a look at the website, and if you need stuff, get it ordered. You're not going to be sad. Hello, all of you awesome people. Hope you're doing well wherever you are. If you're watching the show on YouTube, you can see I'm wearing a sweatshirt because we finally have fall, I guess, in Florida. I think it's what I want to call it. I don't know. It actually broke the 60-degree barrier. So all of you in the Northeast and in the northern zones that are like 60, that's shorts weather. Yes. But in Florida, that's stranger danger weather. We're not used to that here. But hopefully the fishing has been great for you. This turn of the time is normally when the fish turn on, and that's just a lot of fun. This week we are taking the digital bus. Yeah, we're not taking the plane, we're taking the bus. We're just hopping one state over, going to Alabama, and we're going to be talking with FC FishGum. There's something cool kind of brewing on this. Matt's going to come on. He's going to talk to us all about it, and it's been an interesting product to see. So I'm hoping that you guys are going to pick something up from it. I know we're going to. We got a lot of things to talk about. So without further ado, Matt, welcome to the show, man. Good to have you here.
Hey, thanks, Brian. Glad to be here.
So this is, I mean, like I was saying in the intro, man, you came out of nowhere swinging. All of a sudden, it's like, what is this bait? Who is this guy? I mean, we're going to nail into the show a little bit, but let's kick with that one before we get into the podcast questions. Where'd you come from, man? Talk to us about this.
Yeah, so I live in Birmingham, Alabama, so actually in Pelham, a little south of the Birmingham metro. But the story with FC Fishco kind of starts from my family always in my life having a beach house in Mexico Beach, Florida, which is affectionately known as the Forgotten Coast, and that's where FC Fishco comes from. It's not initials for anybody. It stands for Forgotten Coast, and as we were kind of making labels and whatnot, Forgotten Coast just seemed really big, and it seemed kind of too much in your face, like exactly what it is. So we thought FC kind of left it a little nebulous, so people might say, well, what does that stand for? So all that to say, this all came out of just really an idea that came to me one day when I was surf fishing down in Mexico Beach, and I'd been fishing with a lot of the different artificials like the Fishbites and FishGum and some of the other gulps and all that, and then using sand fleas and real shrimp. And I got to thinking about with some real shrimp, I had fresh frozen shrimp, and if you want to get it out there and not kayak it out, you have to sling it so hard, and we were losing them, and it just wasn't a good setup that day. And I don't know if the shrimp was just kind of a little looser than what we had expected, but I was thinking to myself, I was like, I feel like I heard a long time ago when I was a kid, my granddad and some of his friends talking about just salting some shrimp, just to preserve it a little longer, or maybe just tighten it up. So I was like, I'm gonna try that. And there's a whole lot more that goes into the process than just salt. But that's kind of the impetus for it. It just piqued my curiosity, and I think that necessity is the mother of all invention on that. So the fact that we continued to just either lose it on a cast or like one little bump and it was gone, I was like, there's got to be a better way. And I'm kind of a traditionalist in a lot of different things that I do. So I really wanted something that was an authentic protein, whether that was shrimp or some other type of, real natural bait that we could just come up with a way to preserve it. So through a little bit of trial and error, not nearly as much as I thought maybe it would be, I came up with something that worked, and me and my dad were using it, and a couple of his neighbors, and things of that nature. And before you knew it, was about 2, 3 weekends in of making this stuff, and we were catching the heck out of them. And as it goes with surf fishing, you've got people that are experts and have all the gear and all of that, and then you have the folks that are just down for the weekend. And some of the weekenders, just kept coming by because they had poles in the water, and they're like, "Wait, what are you guys using?" And we started showing them, and they were like, can we have some?" So I just gave it to them, and we got to thinking about it. We were like, I mean, just this weekend, not even really advertising, no nothing, and it was really a beta product at the time. I mean, people were catching with it; they were having a good time. So that's kind of where it came from. It was just sort of an idea this summer that just came to me.
That's cool, man. I mean, it's funny how that stuff happens, isn't it? It's like, huh,
Yeah, yeah,
guess this is what we're doing now. Very cool. So now that we've done that, let's just get back dial back. We're gonna start at the beginning. I had to ask questions about the opener there, man. It's just feeling you got to do it.
yeah.
All right, so tell us your story and what got you into fishing.
Yeah, so I'm in my early 40s, and my whole life, to some capacity, fishing's always been a part of it. My family, starting with my grandparents on my mother's side, they built a house in Mexico Beach in the early 70s, so that had always been, their house, and now my parents live in that house. So we had always just kind of been down there. So, in the summer times growing up, and just really anytime I got a chance, I was down there. And my granddad was the avid fisherman. Now that my dad's retired, he's down there, and he's fishing a lot. So I feel like in the last couple of years, especially kind of when COVID happened, and I'm an educator by day trade, so I work in public ed K-12, but then I'm also a professor at a couple different universities. So this isn't my gig, right now, for my day job per se,
Not
but
yet.
not yet. But with I would say kind of like around that COVID time when we were out of schools, and everybody was kind of quarantined. I mean, what a better place to be than on the beach, where you can kind of quarantine, especially down there. You even on a busy weekend, you're 50, 75 yards from your nearest neighbor. So that's kind of where my interest in really getting into what I consider to be more in-depth fishing, and really trying to understand it more than just the experience of throwing out some bait and seeing what's on the end of it. So I feel like in the last couple of years, I've sort of become more of just a student of, how do you maximize your efforts when you do fish? What works? Just some of the research piece that goes into it. But that's it's always been part of my life. But like I said, I just really enjoy fishing, and what really brought this product was just how happy and excited people got about it. And there's a couple features that I think are really cool, and really pretty unique, that we're really proud of with FC Fishco.
Nice. And thank you for your service. I will say that, because I do say it to educators. Y'all got it. I could do a whole podcast on that. We're not gonna, but thank you for all that you do to help continue with that. I know it's not an easy. And then I love talking to teachers, because in a way, in this game, especially with fishing, I always say the people that are serious about fishing, we're constant students. I mean,
Mhm.
you're just, if you're not a constant student, you're not changing. You're just going to be one of the ones that just sit in your ways, and you're probably, I mean, you might be successful, but if you were a student, you could probably be more successful. But that's just me. I don't know. Weird. But all right, moving into the next one. What is your favorite thing about fishing?
I will fish alone, but I prefer not to. And I think it's just either whether it's with my dad or friends, or even with my own two boys. I have a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old boy, that also like to fish. I mean, I think it's the experience of spending time. I do believe very wholeheartedly that fishing is not catching. We certainly want to have tight lines, and we want to pull them in, but I think, for me, that's what separates a lot of us from some others, in that, we don't just look at it as, man, I didn't have anything post worthy today. I fished for 7 hours today, and I only caught, one little whiting or whatever, and I didn't do well. I think anytime we try to match wits with an animal that has the brain the size of a peanut, if we lose, shame on us. So I think, with that piece of it, I just enjoy the experience. I like being outside. I think, with my career, I've always kind of been inside a building and doing good work there. But I think just, getting out, being in nature, I can put whatever things are on my mind, or, whatever things are coming down the road, just aside for a little while. And it's kind of my tranquility that I try to, make time for. So that's probably what I'd say I love most about fishing, is just the time I get to spend with the people I care about.
Nice, man. Very important for sure. Is there a bucket list fish that Matt wants to catch?
Oh man, so I've always kind of been a surf fishing guy, but as FC Fishco is, kind of sprung out of, say, nowhere, but just, as we've gotten more and more exposure, I've been just, exposed to a whole lot more different types of fish and different ways of doing that. I'd like to get on a boat and go catch some a mahi one day. I don't know. I mean, that to me, just every time I see that fish, I just think AI or something. Like, they just look so incredible to me, and I know they're putting up a good fight. And I've got, friends and acquaintances that I know have targeted that and do that. But I would say, for me, I mean, one day, as we continue to evolve into, being able to do more and more just on the personal side of, being able to fish, I'd say that'd probably be a dream catch for me, is good mahi.
They're fun. I can't wait to. I'm in the same boat, man. I'm like, yeah, let's go mahi fishing. Come on. Along the same lines, we're moving into the next part of that. Is there a place that you're like, oh man, I gotta fish there someday?
Um, you know, I definitely would say right now it'd probably be around the Corpus Christi area, down around the Padre Island National Seashore. Our company's done a lot of business with a lot of really good folks down there. One thing that's different about Florida and Texas that I've noticed, and there are some parts of Florida where you can drive your vehicle on the beach and you can kind of do your overland and, stay the weekend and all that. Where I am, where most of my fishing happens in Bay County, you can't do that. So I think for me, I would just want to do one of those, kind of maybe a couple days and nights, where we're sort of doing the camping deal and, fishing and just really connecting with some of those folks that I see, pulling in some pretty impressive fish on a consistent basis. But even more so than that, just connecting with some of those folks down there that I know through business transactions and I know through social media, but just that tribe that they kind of have down there. And that's the biggest thing I've noticed with FC Fishco and us continuing to, branch out, is in pockets of places across the country or even within a state. This guy knows this guy, and that guy's connected with this guy, and this girl knows this person, and all that. So I've really learned to, appreciate that piece that I think is pretty unique to the fishing community. And not that, and I've never been one to not, and I've never had like a honey hole that nobody knew about, but I feel like my personality is not the kind that would be like stingy about that. And I feel like that's the vibe I kind of get down there is, hey, there's fish down here for everybody. So it's not this is our territory or anything like that. But as far as just the location, I'd just say some good surf fishing down in the Pins area of Corpus Christi.
Had a couple episodes out of there, and I gotta say, Texas sounds kind of fun.
It
And
does.
I mean, I know I can name one real quick one. I think I've had 4 or 5 great episodes out of Texas, but like Nick Meyer from Breakaway, he was telling me a lot about it, and it was it sounds like a very busy time when you get there, but he's like, dude, there's so much shore. It's not like that. You guys are a little bit more stacked up there in Florida and those pieces down here. I don't like it. I'm gonna drive a mile. It's not gonna be a big deal.
Right.
Okay. Final one in this category, and then we'll start moving into the knowledge pieces. Can you share a memorable surf fishing story, include any unexpected catches or challenging fishing situations?
Hmm. Man, that's a good one. I mean, there are a lot of different scenarios and different ways we could go with this. You know, let's see. As far as like challenging situations, I think it's a fun type deal. But with my boys, they're 9 years old and 12 currently, so we've been fishing basically, their entire lives. And anytime that you get, your surf gear set up, no matter how far along or how much gap we give in between multiple poles, it never fails. We'll get some big catch that will run across everybody's line, and of course it's the youngest child and all of that. So I think the last time we had I think it was this summer, maybe around June or July, we had a couple different scenarios where the bite had been really slow, and it was almost one of those check the bait kind of deals as we were going. But I think we got two pompano on two different poles and a black tip shark on another, and they were all just kind of cross tip, all the lines look like it intentionally braided itself. So here I am with a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old, and they're going nuts because there's a shark and they're screaming shark, and it's like, we're on the beach, let's don't do that. Just all those things. So I don't know that I'm as professional a fisherman enough to really have like the big like Moby Dick story, but just from like a challenging catch, but also like a memory that I'll always have is just kind of me and my boys, being down there. And just again, man, just that face that a kid makes, and even a grown up that, really maybe hadn't caught a whole lot of fish in their life, just that light up, man. I mean, it's priceless. You can't put a tag on it. And that's what with FC Fish Co. I mean, we're a business, obviously we got to, sell our product, but at the same time, I mean, that's important to us that it evoked that kind of euphoria and that happiness that only, that bend on the line can give you.
There's nothing better than the smile. I don't know what it is. There's something glowing about that catch smile. It's just a different one, and it's a
It
good
is.
one.
It is.
All right, so now let's move into the fishing tips, tricks, and knowledge piece here. Basically, just tell us what you can, what you know, what works for you, because that's the thing. This show is all about helping people catch fish, enjoy, learn, start from the beginning. Even the seasoned anglers, we all learn from each other, because if not, then we're not really helping at all.
Yeah. Yeah, and to that point, I think that's one of the things that when we were kind of toying with the idea of like, do we just make this for our own consumption, or maybe a few friends, or do we try to like kind of maybe launch something? Was this? I just felt like I had a confidence about it, even though I'd never like created a product or done anything like this. I had a confidence about it because it was fishing, and what I mean by that is, I mean, even the professionals and the guys that do this for a living, they're still catching fish. So I think there was just the kind of that back door open for me, like that. Hey, I feel like we're as qualified as anybody else to sell what we're selling because we utilize it. It works for us. So from that end of things, I just think that we really try to just make sure that we're putting a good product out there.
That's good on you, man. I mean, seriously, the fact that know that you're trying to do something in that regard, I dare I say it, but I will. It means that and I get 3 of these. It means you give a shit, and now I have 2. You actually are trying. That's key, because we've seen too many times in this industry. Somebody will pop up out of nowhere, and it's a here today, gone tomorrow. It's a quick hit to make a couple dollars and then go from there. But just even in that statement alone, it shows that, you're like, yeah, hey, I still want this to work. I want this to be a thing, but I want it to work for everybody. So
Yeah,
good
yeah,
on you, man.
I appreciate that, but that's super important to me. And with some business propositions and whatnot, like just people reaching out, like, hey, we've got a marina, or we've got access to this pier where we sell bait and all this kind of stuff. We've intentionally kept it just us producing it, just simply because we know we're not to the point where personally we want to be in a position where it's just everywhere and we're manufacturing. Like we want to manufacture, obviously, because we have to get product out there, but we make everything by hand. I mean, like if the color's not right, it's going in the side maybe for us to use later or something. Personally, I mean, we're not sending out junk, and that's one of the things that I think super important is, if this thing takes off, that's awesome. If it just manages to keep us afloat where we can continue to put product out there, we're going to do that as well. So I think I'm very blessed in that I have another professional career. So if this takes off, that's great. If it doesn't, that's fine too. But FC Fishco is not going to necessarily go away just because we hadn't reached a metric on a financial sheet, just because it's so important to us. And when it comes to our product, I mean, we use very special products. We're not just using just crap you find anywhere. Everything that we use has a purpose, from either a consistency standpoint, a product standpoint, a durability standpoint, and even down to our packaging. We're working on some cool things to maximize what this bait can do for the professional fisherman or just the weekender. And I would definitely want to talk about a little bit about that at some point, about where we see this work in a variety of different needs in the fishing community.
Well, that's going to happen. There's no hidden stuff here. No, sir. Well, that being said, you actually hooked it up here because now it's been 20 minutes and everyone knows on this show in 20 minutes, you should be checking your bait because you're not going to catch fish on credit. No, you're not. Reel that in, double check it, get it all set up because maybe you need to change it up and move to a different little spot, maybe a different float. We'll see here. But yeah, let's do that. This bait check is being brought to you by Kids Can Fish. Head on over to the website, kidscanfish.net, and take a look at all the great things that they're doing. Here you can see through the website, they've got all the information right here. They are a state and federally recognized 501c3 charitable foundation. All the camps and clinics all get funded back into the organization to help these kids go out and go fish. If you also want information on the running of the Bulls tournament, it'll be updated right here up on top. And if you want to learn more about the entire team, you can take a look at the pro staff links. You learn all about Caroline, their partners, how to get in touch with them, and the photo gallery is always great. If you'd like to help them further, you can do one more. You can go over to Promar Ahi and take a look at that website, and you can buy into the cast net. This is the specialized one. This is the one that you hear a lot about. Caroline has talked a lot about it, and a portion of the proceeds go back into Kids Can Fish. They have the 3-foot, the 4-foot, and the 5-foot. All these things are great. And it all goes back into the Kids Can Fish Foundation to help these kids continue to do great things with these camps. Keep your ears open because there's going to be a lot more things coming from them. It's always great and always great to be a part of it. So now that we're starting out here, let's talk about it. How do you plan your fishing trips?
Well, I think, the main thing is what I do is I check the weather. Then I check a lot of the different fishing reports. And thankfully I have pretty much where I'm fishing, on a consistent basis. I've got friends and family that are down there full time that I can say, hey man, how's the bite been? Has it been slow? Has it been mornings? Has it been afternoon? I mean, I think, there are a lot of different factors that go into it, but I think anytime I'm going fishing, I want to kind of know the conditions. If I'm somewhere I'm not familiar, hopefully I'm with someone that is. I think that's a big deal. Kind of respecting people that are locals is a big deal for me. So learning what I can from them. I used to play a lot of golf, and I felt like guys that played on a certain course all the time just kind of knew where every bounce was, and where to lay up on a green and things of that nature. Where I think the same applies in the fishing game. So, there are certain things that I think are pretty universal, but for me, again, being an experienced guy, it's about the memory for me. So I want to make sure that I'm posturing myself with the good people and knowledgeable people. But I think a lot of times it's just the conditions and what to be prepared for. For me, there's nothing worse than going down and being cold, not taking a big enough jacket or not really knowing how windy some place is going to be. So just that kind of stuff. I mean, I can have fun fishing anywhere. But for me, just to be most successful and make it the best time, I think just really trying to do my research and due diligence on wherever that might be.
Good call. I like it. How do you select your spot once you've decided, all right, we're here?
Well, obviously, I think if you can kind of see from afar or even higher up, thankfully, the way that I walk down to the beach from our house where I fish on a consistent basis, you can kind of see the lay of the water or the floor anyway, if the water's clear. I'm looking for those sort of troughs or kind of over a ridge. And on a clear day down there, we can see it. But I do believe in that kind of stuff. And I'm big on the wind, obviously. Down in the Forgotten Coast, and I don't know if this is accurate, but one of the things that a lot of the old heads used to say is wind from the east, you catch the least. And, I feel like anytime that we're getting wind from the east down there, they're pretty spot on. You can fish, but you're probably not going to catch a whole lot. So that southern wind from the west is really what I'm looking for. And if we can get some of that down there, a lot of times we get some really, really good catches, not going out too far.
Yeah. Yeah. Wind's a beast on this side. I think it's anywhere really. I mean, it just depends on where you're at. I mean, for us, I know, if I got a full value, I still think in Marine Corps terms for shooting. If I got a full value east, west, I'm not having a good day. Give me something out of the south. Okay. South and north, those are my favorite days. North, not so much. But yeah, wind plays a big factor, and you really got to pay attention. And thankfully, we got so many apps now, you can kind of get an idea of where it's coming from, when it's coming from.
That's right.
But you actually opened up into the next question real nicely there when you started talking about looking at seeing troughs and those pieces. How would you say surf anglers can read the beach to interpret the conditions and identify, okay, that's probably going to be a good spot, that's probably not, or how to see kind of a school of fish?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing is, obviously we are a kind of a tourist attraction down there. So on some weekends and, different times of the year, you may get a little bit more traffic. So for me, and I know this wouldn't be the same kind of problem or issue to look at like if you were out at Pins, but for me, I'm looking at like, all right, where are these condos or houses that have a lot of cars? Like I don't want to be set up with them because I'm not a super early guy. I'm more of an afternoon. The 4 o'clock bite for me is kind of where it is. I mean, like that's the joke around our house. It's like, all right, we got about 8 minutes and it's going to start because it's just something about 4 p.m. Central Standard Time that really kicks off. So as far as for me personally, I mean, I think I try to be as respectful of my space and what I'm trying to do and not hinder, other people. And also knowing that, at any time I could pull in any type of shark, be in a black tip or a bonnet head or anything. And, I don't want to freak out people. I know they live out there, but for some people this first time, I try to really just be mindful of that kind of stuff. But, as far as just, how I would recommend people do that is, if you get down that afternoon before you're going to go fishing, just kind of go down and just walk around, check it out, see where maybe some other guys are fishing. I mean, look and see what kind of flag they're flying on their beach cart. Do they look local? That kind of stuff. So, I'm not a real, technical guy on a lot of things. I'm more of a gut guy, just kind of like, it feels right. So I would just say, I mean, just using the best data sources you have based on your experience or the experience of others, just to determine, where it would be. But I will say this: I've never caught a fish when I didn't have a hook in the water. So I do try to at least maximize my time with, a wet hook rather than just all the things that, at certain times. I don't know if any of it is any more than just kind of, anyone's best guess.
Okay. Makes sense. And yeah, I am a huge supporter of the sunset bite. I mean, I sorry, y'all. I don't like getting up for sunrise. The only time I'll do it's for tournaments. Other than that, you're gonna catch me at sunrise and into the darkness.
That's right.
Y'all can have the rest of the day. That's okay. I'll take that one. Well, let's talk into that piece then, so it kind of transitions nicely. So you're set up now. You've picked your spot. All those are good. Where are you sending your casts? How are you casting, and where are you putting that line at?
It's a great point. It really depends on what it is we're targeting that day. I mean, if we're just kind of out there just trying to get it out and trying to catch, I mean, I would say for us, I mean, a good day is a legal size pompano, something in the slot. Where we are, I'm kind of one of those. I go a little bit higher than the knee, not quite waist high, and sling out. I know a lot of people throw from the beach and things of that nature, but I'm kind of a almost waist high guy, and for me, I can just kind of tell where the waves are breaking and where some of the curls are of where I'd kind of like to drop that. We aren't as deep out as far as where some of the troughs and some of the areas where we know the fish kind of hang. You don't have to go as far as maybe you do some of these other places. We will occasionally, kayak out and just drop a few things, try to drop them on the backside of a sandbar or something of that nature. But for the most part, we're just going to be straight casting off the beach, you know, maybe 100 yards, 125 yards. So I'm not a big slinger of, you know, one of these like long distance guys, but I will say I use the Sputnik weights, and I haven't always, but talking with Chip Brundage and the what's
The sinker guy.
The sinker guy. That's
Yep.
right. I want to say Sputnik guy, but the sinker guy.
I mean, it fits both. So yeah, but yeah, the sinker guy.
Yeah. So I got to talking to him a couple months ago when we first started out. He was just reaching out, and we got to talking about different weights. And I'd seen them, but I never used them. But for me, they're really a good 2 ounce on that is all I need. With our FishGum, that's one of the cool things is with our product, and we may not be to the point in the segment where we're talking about the specifics, but I will say whether you're throwing out 30 yards or you're slinging it, you know, to the moon, you're not going to throw FC FishGum Salt Strike off your hook. That is probably our biggest selling point right now is our durability. That aside from not requiring any refrigeration. So I would say a good piece of Salt Strike with a Sputnik and about 100, 125 yards out. That's magical where I am usually.
Now I'm looking forward to seeing how far I can launch this stuff. So that's a cool piece. All right. Well, you nailed into that one, so you took care of the next 2 questions. So I guess I'll just have to roll down there. Have you noticed, and this also works with your bait, so let's talk about that. And you've also talked about Fishbites and FishGum earlier on there.
Uh-huh.
Have you noticed that what are some effective bait and lure and bait choices? Oh my gosh, I can't speak English today. What are some effective bait choices for surf fishing with yours? And have you noticed that it brings in a certain species at all?
Yeah, well, that's a multifaceted answer there when we get to the species. You know, we kind of went into this thing, like I said, where I am, pompano is kind of king. So we went in with that as being our focus. But because we've, you know, sold all over the country, we've caught all kinds of things. We've been blown away that people have been catching fish in freshwater with it. That was never part of the plan. We always kind of thought theoretically it could work. So we had some people testing it, but as far as like species and whatnot, we haven't found anything. And we intentionally spent a couple weekends, and it was just terrible. We had to fish all weekend. But my dad and I, for a couple weeks when we first started, were really putting this stuff to the test in that we were trying to catch anything from pinfish to catfish to, you know, anything that would bite. And what we found was we pretty much caught everything that weekend on the Salt Strike. We caught a pompano. It wasn't in the slot, so we had to put it back. But catfish, you know, sail cat. We had whiting, black sea bass. Never caught one of those before. We caught one of those off of some jetties. Ladyfish, blue runner. We've caught a stingray on it before, black tip. So it's pretty utilitarian as far as what it brings in. And like I said, I'll be glad to talk a little bit about some of our, you know, guys up north, maybe in Ohio, and some of the things they've caught.
Okay. Dang. There's a lot of good stuff there. I was like I was like, there's gonna be more. There's gotta be. And I was like, oh nope, that's a pause. That's a move on. Okay. So well, I guess we can tie these ones in then. You've done a little bit there with moving around. I mean, you come down to the Forgotten Coast a lot, so you do have a spot there. But if you were to go, say, oh, I don't know, like you're going to go to Pins, what would you do if you're going to a new spot to set yourself up for success?
I think it goes back to, again, trying to just really get into the local scene. You know, and not be like I'm trying to encroach on your spot, but like I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to glean one little thing from you that I could possibly take back to where I am. Because I think, everybody sort of has a home base if you're kind of like me. So with those opportunities to, fish somewhere else or even bring in a new species, that's really appealing to me. Just kind of going back to the other question previously, just the different number of rigs that are out there. I mean, I've always traditionally kind of fished with and had success with just a double drop. And that kind of led us, as far as product design, the coloring that comes on most of your pompano rigs, your double drops, those high res oranges, pinks, greens, things of that nature. That kind of led us to thinking a little bit more outside of the box of, hey, we don't want to just have a salted shrimp or a preserved shrimp that's just naked. And there's definitely a market for that as well. But we wanted to capitalize on, hey, have you noticed that we'll still get bumps even when we don't think there's any kind of bait on there? And I think they're bumping those high res floats and things of that nature. So for us, that was a big deal, coming up with, the different colors and just talking with people about how to do that. So I think, anytime I'm in a new place and, it's new, is trying to figure out what they normally catch, how they do it. And, what transferable knowledge can I take from this experience and then roll into somewhere else or share with somebody else.
Well, it's good you brought it up, and I know you're looking at the jars here. So let's pull up a couple colors here, because we have seen on numerous different channels on YouTube how many times a fish will hit the float and spit it out like that's not food, and then we've seen people come up with the float hooks and that stuff. But you're taking the best of both worlds there and combining it into a bait. So go ahead, let's see some of these colors here.
Yeah, so this is our standard FC Fishco Salt Strike. So and we were working on some professional packaging. This is just kind of stuff that we do just to, make sure people know what it is. But this is actually it's a 6-ounce size can, but you get 4 ounces of product in each can. And what that equates to, we have actually increased the size of our shrimp. So that was one of the feedback from some of our testers is, man, we love the stuff. It works, but it's a little small. So to begin with, we were using, I'd say probably 1 inch in terms of the whole piece of shrimp to begin with, whereas now we're using a whole lot bigger piece. So in this can of 4 ounces, you're getting approximately 14 to 15 pieces. And we do sell this retail for $14.99. And, to get 14 pieces of fully preserved, no preservatives needed, actual shrimp that is pliable. And I'll put it on a hook and stuff for you in a little bit. That we feel like that's a very reasonable price. One of the things that we've noticed, and I've kind of feel like, and I don't know if this is a global statement, but we didn't want to be in a situation with FC Fishco with our Salt Strike that people were having to make a business decision about buying bait. Like we want people to feel like, hey, this is a good value for what we're getting. I think sometimes the way that it's presented and because it is so unique, it might look like, man, you only get 14 pieces. That's 14 fish basically in a can. Because what I mean by that is if you're not catching, you can do a bait check, but this Salt Strike is still going to be on there. Even with the pinfish and some of the smaller fish that chip away at our product, we very rarely find ourselves fishing on credit. So, as far as how we come up with colors and all that, our main color, and it does sort of fluctuate because of our process. No batch is actually, ever the same. We do replicate how we do it, but just with some of the coloring. And anytime you're dealing with an actual protein, it's kind of like steaks. You could have 10 T-bones, but they look like 10 different T-bones. It's the same deal with our Salt Strike. But our main colors, we have the pink, we have a yellow, we have a blue with some purple. This has been our surprise. This was just kind of hey, let's try it out. But this has been one of our most effective baits. And then green. I will say I don't do really well with green personally, but this does really well with a lot of our customers. So I think that That's the other thing is I've learned in this is business isn't about what I like or what works for me. It's about what's working for my customers. So what we try to do, we do sell cans, where you can just get blue or you could just get pink. But by far, our biggest seller has been a variety can. And basically what we do is we just equally distribute, 14 to 15 of these, and try to equally put in the, different colors, just because we're not convinced that one color is really better than any other color. We do think that there are some that are a little more of a tendency to do well in certain conditions in certain locations, but they all work. We've noticed water clarity really doesn't seem to play that much. I mean, as much as it would with any fishing. I mean, like if it's just terrible conditions, it doesn't matter what you got out there, you don't catch anything. But water clarity, and even where I think we have a real corner on the market, like some of the, the big guys and guys that we kind of want to emulate, like the Fishbites and the FishGum, they're getting, a good product out there that stays on the line. So with this, what we feel like is we have a really utilitarian product that can be used by a variety of people. So we've got some folks that are pro staff type people that, we're fishing on teams or they're fishing, every day. But what I think also makes this special is if you're that guy and you have all the gear and you're a professional, this will work for you because it's good bait and it does what it needs to. I feel like our niche, when we really take off, is going to be those families where, fishing is something they've wanted to do, but, for whatever reason, that's not something that the parents grew up doing or aren't uber comfortable with. So I, kind of did a little action research. I've got, some friends, that have access to, like bait and tackle shops and things of that nature. But down in Mexico Beach, I went down to the marina, to the bait shop there. I know the owner and the manager, but I was showing them the product. And as I was sitting there, you had obviously the guys are coming in that are, they're buying 50 pounds of cigar minnows and, they're doing their thing offshore and all that. But then you'd have this mom and dad with an 11-year-old and a 6-year-old, and they're coming in and they're buying the full combo reel, 3 of them at whatever it is. They came down with nothing, probably don't know anything other than you throw bait in the water and it bends. This is going to be a great product for them because I've just seen families come in, and it's not just there. I'm sure it's everywhere. And they're like, hey, we want to fish or whatever. And it's like, yeah, all our bait's back there in the back, and it's, it's in a freezer or it's live wells, and you got all these rigs on the walls, and it looks like you're going into surgery at a hospital and all that. I know that can be very, unnerving for some novice people. I think if you put this kind of stuff, easily accessible, at a register or whatever, this gives those folks that maybe they're not those professionals, something that they can have fun with and catch fish with, in a day trip or maybe a weekend trip. And whatever they don't use, they can just seal it, screw the cam back together and put it in their tackle box, their toolbox. It won't go bad. We often get the question of, well, how long does it last? We're such a new company that's kind of a loaded question because we still have some of our beta product that was not preserved in the fashion that we do currently, and it's still the same texture, color, smell as it was, almost 8-9 months ago. So, and that's hanging in a sort of a building that is climate controlled, but not like your house. So that's pretty impressive in that it's not vacuum sealed. This stuff's not even in a can. It's in a Ziploc bag with a thumbtack through it with a date on it. That was important to us, is that with each batch we keep a sample of it just to kind of see how it progresses as far as any breakdown. And we've not seen any. Now that if you leave it in the back of your truck and it's booming sun on it, then that will break it down. We have seen that direct sunlight seems to be the kryptonite for it, if there is one. So you do have to be a little mindful of, where you're storing it. Even on the beach on really hot days, you don't want to leave it out in the sun, but you wouldn't want to leave any of your other stuff out either. But the cool thing about this is, unlike your shrimp or your squid or anything, it's not going to turn on you in 12 hours, 24 hours. I mean, this is pretty much plug and play. It's as close to just, putting it on a hook as you're going to get.
Cool. I like it. Now, before we go into the bait check here, because it's time, let's see those fingers, because that's something else that's fun here. You grabbed the bait, and I saw you
Oh yeah,
scraping it off.
yeah, nothing.
Look at that, folks. There, didn't stain. Didn't stain.
It does have a glitter on it, and that sticks with it.
Trouble.
So there's a little bit.
Oh no, not glitter. Oh, my wife's gonna think I went out.
But it takes right off. So I'm clean-handed again. I'm smelling it. I mean, and this batch right here, this is probably a month old. Okay. So I'm not going to taste it because it is raw shrimp, but
please don't do that.
But it's legit.
There's certain lines we don't cross on this show. That's one of them.
Well, and I will say, Brian, on our can, one of the first things it says is not for human consumption.
Good. So, that's a good safety feature right there.
It does. I mean, I get a lot of commentary on Facebook of, it looks like candy, I want to eat it. It looks like gummy bears or whatever. And it does, but it is raw shrimp.
No, people, no, it's bait. It's bait. Leave it alone. Right. All right. Well, we're going to rock into our next bait check here, and hopefully you all caught a bunch of fish. That's the key. We want you to catch a ton of fish and be living the good life there. And if you haven't, now it's time to move. Maybe it's just not there for you today. That's okay. Move down to another spot. Go catch more fish. That's the key. But hey, you got to check it to make sure you're not fishing on credit. This bait check is being brought to you by the Sinker Guy. Y'all know I love it. Go over to thesinkerguy.com and take a look at everything that Chip's got going on in the Sinker Guy garage. Lots of fun stuff in this website, y'all. I mean, you can get lost in it, really. If you go take a look, you just get right to the homepage here. It's got a little couple of things to talk about, but we go into the good stuff, get into the garage, into the shop. Need sinkers? It's in his name. It's got you covered there. The Bruno rig, the Uno rig, and the Fishing Mortician rig. We all love those. But if you need other supporting gear, he's got you covered with that. Bait, floats, fishing line, so many different things, any kind of other supporting gear. There's a lot on the website. So again, go over to thesinkerguy.com, take a look, get your order in today. Extremely fast shipping, superb customer service, and Chip's going to make sure you're taken care of every time. That's just how he does it. Sinkerguy.com. Get your order in today. I always love Chip stuff. I actually just reposted an article I did when I was testing sinkers for casting distance. And Sputniks go a lot further than certain weights. People don't realize, so it's always good there. All right, so we've started going into that, and let's get into the technicalities here with the bait. What are some unique challenges and opportunities in designing this for the dynamic and varied conditions of surf fishing?
Yeah, so one of the things I will say about our product is every piece of Salt Strike is food quality grade shrimp. So I don't operate with bait that we've caught or that somebody else caught live, and then we're doing that. So we're buying basically shrimp that you could eat. And one of the reasons for that is when I first started into this and we started talking to different marinas or tackle shops and whatnot, that was one of the first questions I got asked in Florida is, where do you get the shrimp? And I didn't really understand that to begin with, because I was just, I just kind of made this stuff on a lark. And there are so many rules and regulations about where shrimp is harvested and who can do that and all of that. So not only am I not in a position to be, catching my own shrimp anyway, but what we believe is, if we do that, we're always above board. We can always give a consistent product, and we can always work with a consistent, size. Because for us, the process is contingent on the different sizes of the protein that we're preserving. So now, and I'll be making some updates to our website in the next day or so. FC Fishco is really kind of consolidating now to only really doing the Salt Strike bait, which is our shrimp. We did have a few other products. We had our Surf Strong rigs, which are very much like, a lot of the other pompano rigs that you'd see out there. And what we kind of found was, that's pretty much a saturated market. There are a lot of people that are making those, and we don't know that ours are really any better than anybody else's from a material standpoint or a design standpoint. So we just kind of decided, you know what, we'll still make those because we enjoy making them, and we'll throw them in on a pack that people order of Salt Strike. But that's not going to be like a line item that we're going to continue to carry as a retailer. And the same with our Swamp Thing freshwater bait. So I didn't talk about that yet, and I'm not even bringing any because we're kind of getting out of that as well. And not because it didn't work, just because we've seen such an uptick in what Salt Strike's doing. We just really can't. We're a small enough outfit that we can't run 3 or 4 items, and really we think this is our winner. We know it works, and we know people are interested in it. But just to talk a little bit about the Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing was originated as, because I'm in Alabama, and we have the Gulf Shores areas and Orange Beach and all that, but primarily the people that I know and work with around here, they're freshwater guys, and really try to kind of find something that was exclusive to freshwater. We came up with Swamp Thing, and it's a combination of chicken and chicken livers that were also preserved very similarly to Salt Strike. But the cool thing about it, just like with the shrimp, the chicken never requires refrigeration after our process. So it sells, it works, but again, it's just like, where do we want to put our eggs? And we just haven't, as a company, we hadn't gotten to the point that we feel like that's a really good use of our time or energy. We want to spend most of that on our Salt Strike because we want to get that out to more and more people. We do offer a money back guarantee on that, because I've had some skeptics, and there's obviously, you comp out product to people too, but I've had people reach out and say, hey, what does this do? What if it doesn't work or whatever? And I'm like, hey, listen, just get some. If it doesn't do what you think it's supposed to have done or what we said it was going to do, listen, I'll cut your money back to you. Like I really, it's important to me. And also, we believe in our product that much. So I want people to have peace of mind when they buy it, that, hey, we're not a one and done. If it, if there was something wrong with it, or whatever the case may be, we'll give your money back or give you another can of it. So we're not in the doing people wrong just to make a buck. And I think in this world we live in nowadays, that's one of the sacred things that us small business people can do is put product and people over the bottom line. So I think that's what we're trying to do, and trying to maximize what we think is going to put the most smiles on people's face. And that's our Salt Strike shrimp.
Good stuff. Good call. So you've been playing a lot with the dynamic, or with, creating here. So how do you balance innovation with proven design principles?
Man, that's a good one, because, and I'll tell you, with Salt Strike to begin with, I kind of got into this when it got to coloring. I'm just a little bit about me. I'm a big music head. I love all types of music, but I'm really into the Grateful Dead and have been pretty much my whole life. So anything that's like, high color, neons, or even tie dyes, I've always been drawn to that. So our first Salt Strike bait we made was sort of a tie-dyed shrimp that was preserved, but the coloration was tie-dyed, and we called it Grateful Bait. We may get back into that one day or something, but we just kind of said, you know what, this is cool. This is sort of self-serving, but is this going to work? Does a tie-dyed shrimp, this blue, red, and yellow, is that going to do? And that's where I think, to your point, functionality versus like creative outlet kind of kicks in. For the first couple months, it was all basically what we wanted to do and what looked cool, and what do we think would work. Now we know what does work, but just again, keeping my ear to the grindstone, whether that's with people, in face-to-face conversations or even social media. I mean, there's so many awesome people that I follow on social media that have given me, either directly or indirectly, really good advice about what they're using. Cliff Gardner is a friend of mine through our business, and he does the green get 'em rigs. So he's all into green stuff, and I think he catches really, he catches his share with his own product. But just things like that, where you're not stealing an idea necessarily, but you're just seeing, hey, these guys are having some success with certain colors. Let's really maximize that.
I always say Cliff could catch a pompano in a freshwater pond. The man's a hell of an angler.
Right. So yeah, just guys like that. I just think that just being observant and just trying to figure out, what works best is important. But back to the practicality versus like creativity, we know that the size of shrimp we're working with now fits a variety of markets, and the small ones, they were great for like smaller pompano rigs, a smaller size hook. But if you got anything bigger than, if you got into anything that was a little bit larger than the smallest ones, and I get kind of confused on all the aught this and aught that. But we did know that our shrimp to begin with was a little smaller than what it could be. What we found with our larger product now is similar to like a FishGum or Fishbites. And I'm not making a comparison between the two. I'm just saying you can break these or cut these with your knife or scissors into smaller pieces, kind of like a bite. And as you can see, the coloring is all the way through. So our process is there, but we just found that you can put this whole big old thing on a big old circle hook if you want to, or you can use smaller pieces. And we've used it to cap things like sand fleas, or things that are likely to fly off of a hook on a big cast. We may cap it with some of our Salt Strike if we're not just using that exclusively that day. And that kind of helps with it not flying off, or that's been our experience.
That's good. I was gonna say, yeah, when I get it, I won't be using a whole piece. I cut down to the thumbnail. I use chunks. So I was like, oh, 14 shrimp, no problem.
Yeah.
That just gave me, I'm not doing math, but yeah, that gave me a bunch of bait to use. So yeah, that's good. Smart. I like it. I'm glad that you added into that. Well, you talked about color. Let's continue on with that. How do you approach color selection for bait to ensure that they're attractive to any target species in the fishing environment?
Um, you know, I, I've tried to do as much research, you know, on my own virtually, through the internet and whatnot, and not just, Google searching, but like really honing in on some of these folks that really know what they're talking about. And I think we've arrived at these four colors being really, really dynamic. I do think that this coupled with a really good rig that has some high res, um, colors, I think the two work in tandem. Surf Psychos, Jim Price, he's a guy that makes those sand flea hooks and some of the rigs that you could almost use them without bait. We've had some really good success with using his product with our Salt Strike, because the float and the little imitation sand flea or shrimp is so lifelike that it's almost like a combo. I think it's just like it must be a buffet for a fish that comes along. So again, I don't know of all our colors that we do produce if there's one that works any better. We just know we haven't found one that doesn't work. And a lot of times we're using multiple poles and multiple colors just to kind of research and develop. So if the bite is on, we've seen that we catch with all of them. Now, does that mean that there's not some trophy fish that passed it by? Absolutely. I mean, it could be. I don't know. But if the bite is happening, we found that our four main colors have really yielded multiple species, and so have our testers from North Carolina down to Florida. We've got quite a few folks that fish our product in Jacksonville. John Avalos with the Bass Patrol Nation is a really good friend of ours, and really has been really good to our company. When we were in the rig business, he was supplying us with the hooks from Victory Hooks, who is a sponsor of his. But as I said, we're kind of getting out of that business, but we've seen that down in Jacksonville, especially on some of the piers, we've really hauled in some really nice fish with the Salt Strike.
Nice. That's really cool. Hey, proof's in the pudding, right? That's where it rolls. Well, you talk about R&D and experimenting. Let's talk about that. What role does experimentation play in your design process, and how do you test and refine your bait for optimizing the performance?
That's a great question. And I would say out of all of it, that's probably where we spent the most time, because we knew we had an innovative idea. We knew we had something that, in theory, when you're dealing with a shrimp, which is probably the most utilitarian, bait out there in the saltwater world, if you ask me, we knew we had something good, but we needed to make sure of what it was we wanted to do. So we knew we wanted to catch fish. We knew we wanted to have a durability, kind of like an artificial. And we wanted to also have something that wasn't going to spoil. We had no idea that we'd be able to preserve it to the degree that it stays as long as it has. But I mean, when you talk about research and development, we have done some pretty, I won't say innovative, but almost crazy things just to see. I mean, from taking it out to with a Zebco 33, just little, enclosed rig, and going out in the road of my neighborhood and just slamming this stuff on the concrete just to see if it'll come off. Slinging it as far as I can in dry, just in dry in a field, just trying to see, can we sling it off? Going down to the beach, going down to the jetties, and like slamming that stuff on the rocks, dragging it across, when there's a lot of wake, and just stuff like that, just to see, like, how durable is this stuff really? And we've been super impressed with how well it stays on. And because of the certain, steps we put in to just test it on our own, we were able to kind of evolve and just say, hey, it needs to be a little more preserved, or maybe it doesn't need to be so preserved. Some of our earlier product was a little bit drier. One thing I do want to mention about our product, so as you can see, it does have the, it is coated with salt on the back end, and it does have a glitter component. But what we also find is that when you put it, it's flexible and pliable now, but when you put it in water, and I'll grab some at our next little break and show you what it looks like when it comes out of water. It almost completely changes form in that it becomes slick and very liquid, fluid looking, if that makes sense. It almost has a shiny hue. It goes from almost a matte to a gloss. And we were real worried that, hey, once all the salt and the other preservatives and stuff get off of it, like, how well is this stuff going to stand up? But again, like I was saying, you can cut it. Even in the middle of the protein, it is just as preserved as the outside.
That's smart. Well, hey, you're lucky. It's been an hour, so you can actually go grab that stuff. So go right ahead, go grab that water, and we'll do this. This next bait check, hey, it's the last one of the show. So hopefully, you've got it all. Everything's been great. Life is good. You're golden. You have nothing to complain about. And if not, hopefully you went to a different beach. It's been good times so far. So you just got to keep it going. This is your final bait check of the episode. Remember, keep going. This bait check is being brought to you by Ninja Tackle. You guys know I absolutely love Ninja Tackle. I love all the rods and all the gear that I ever get from there. It's always phenomenal and top notch. Now, right here, got to talk about it. The old little Bummy. That's right. Bama Beach Bum's littler rod. The little Bummy is a 9'6" rod. Hearing a lot of great things about this. It's been doing really well in the surf and a couple other other places you can use it. If you go over to the website, ninjatackleva.com, as you can see, plenty of great things on the website. The Ninja Dagger series, the Beach Bum, the Bummy Stick, the 12-foot, which you guys know, I love my 12-foot. I love my 12-foot. The 9-footer is phenomenal. There's really nothing bad, but if you need rigs, he's got you covered. He got you with ES lures and other hand-tied rigs, hooks, other gear. He's got it all through here. As you can see, 15 pages worth of stuff, sand spikes and bait, all good things all the way through. If you're into the firearm and tactical side, oh, he's got you covered there. Ninja Tactical, lots of good pieces of gear in here. As you scroll through, you're going to find something you need. I know it. Always good stuff. NinjaTackleVA.com. That's the website. Go on over. Get your order in today. All right. Now that we got the water, now it's going to get real. Show us what you got.
All right. So, and I'm going to use two different cans here. So I'm going to use a blue and I'm going to use a green. Now, when I put it in the water, and I'll pick it up where you can see it. When you put it in, this water obviously is still, I know there's some glare. So it's not going to have the same effect that you would have if, it was in the ocean, but I'm going to drop a couple pieces in here and we can get it out in just a second. Just to show you guys what
That's enough, man. Dang, don't use the whole bag. You're good.
Okay.
I mean, I'm all for showing how far we can stack the cup here, but man, you got a product. Don't just throw it all in. Let's see what.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. I get excited when I start talking about the
I can tell, which actually, that's a good sign. At least that you're, you can tell it's not fake. You can tell you're not, on a TV show that we won't name because I don't want to get sued. But you can tell that you care about it. So that's awesome.
Yeah, we very much do. So as you can see, when you wet it, it gets sort of a shiny hue to it. This is a darker color. This is just sort of a prototype that we're throwing in. But we've seen so much success with so many of our products that we're always trying to evolve it a little bit. Let me get you another piece here. This blue looks really good. Just shake some of that off, but you can see it goes from that sort of callous, salty to a real clear, shiny, and you can see you still have your glitter. So, I get questions about that too. Well, why do you just throw glitter on it or whatever? Well, we throw glitter on it because it sticks to it. And we think that shine also has something to do with it. We may be totally wrong. I don't know, but I think that's the other thing about fishing. Does anyone really know? I think you just kind of have to get out there and try out new things. So with a product like this, that's been, not on the market long, we're still learning as much about it as our customers. So they give us good feedback. Here's that green again. And as you can see, I mean, it really does, become very, shiny. When it comes to the flexibility, I'm going to put one on a hook real quick for you. So I've just got a regular hook here, and I'm going to hook it here up at the top and then back through the bottom if I'm using a whole piece. And you can see it's not hard at all to hook that bad boy up. We do recommend people wetting it before they put it on the hook. You don't have to. We've just found it does a little bit better. So
you read R&D. It comes in that way. What makes works. That's the key. Oh, you're still into the same category, so let's keep it going. How do you address the challenge of creating scent that's both realistic and durable, given the potential for saltwater and the rough conditions of those waves beating it up?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So our initial product did not have anything but the natural scents that came with it. One thing we found about our Salt Strike is whatever condition, whatever smell the product has when we begin our preservation process is what it will continue to have for the duration of the product. So meaning if we and we did this research and development, when it came to thawing, a frozen product, do we let it thaw on its own? Do we, figure in, water in it and all of these things? So we've kind of got a process now of how we develop, our process, and it really does help as far as just that durability and being able to make a consistent product for people.
Good. Yeah, it's great work right there. Have you encountered any unexpected insights or discoveries in your journey as a bait maker that have influenced the design?
I would say definitely making it larger. That was the biggest thing, and that was just listening to our people. We had gotten our product out, and for guys that said, "Hey, listen, we're not just gonna, we're legit gonna test your product, and we're gonna do a review of it, or we're gonna do a box opening." Like Rich Logan, I know you know Rich because I saw him on here. He's been great for me. He really has helped coach me kind of through the social media process about how to do our product. But he was one of the very first ones that was like, "Hey man, I love what you're doing. It looks really cool. Get me some and let me do a review of it. But let me also preface it with, if it's a piece of crap, we're going to say it's a piece of crap." And I was like, amen to that, because that's what we want. Again, we're not trying to sell you on one can of this and get our $15 and ride off in the sunset. We want repeat customers, and that's what we've had actually is, obviously you're going to have new customers because we're a new product, but the number of the amount of product we've been able to sell in the last 3-4 months, probably 70% of that comes from the same people, repeat customers. So we know that it's working. We don't get orders back to back because even a can of this, no matter how hard you're fishing, you're not going to use the whole can in a day, even with multiple people. So we do realize that. we try not to do like the Crocs model. And, you know, I don't know if I can talk about Crocs here, but we don't want to make something that's so good that nobody ever has to buy it again either. So, you know, there's a piece of it where we want it to meet its need, but we're also not trying to make a piece of beef jerky just to say it'll last for 2 years. You know, we do realize that it's bait and it's going to be used, but we do think that's a major feature, not only for consumers, but if we do ever get into the retail end of it, not having to put it in a freezer, not having to check a date. I mean, we'll put a born on date on it, but as far as like an expiration date, we don't have that data right now to say, but we do feel good about saying it's going to last as long as you're going to keep it.
Good stuff. Rich is a hell of an angler, and he's doing great things on social media. I've very much so enjoyed interviewing him.
Yeah, he like I said, it's been so cool to have so many different people that have taken of their time or their platform or whatever. Same with you, Brian. I mean, you know, I was giddy to be able to get on a show like yours with the following and the caliber of angler that you all attract. This is big time for FC Fish Company. I want you to know that. So we're a small timer. You know, our job is not to encroach on anybody else's piece of the pie. We just think we offer something that's pretty unique, that kind of stands in the gap of artificial and all natural, and kind of brings both of those worlds together in a durable product that'll last.
Hey, bridging gaps is key, especially in this game. I mean, dare I say it? What the hell? Let's cause some feather rough run. You know, you got people that are die hard artificial and die hard live. And finding the middle ground is just a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, being able to do it, it's a risk. But if it's a win, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, whoa, people are going to catch fish. Oh no, how dare I?
Right. Yeah. And I guess for me, I've never gotten caught up in the whole, this one's better than that one. Or, you know, we never got into this thinking we have to mastermind a gap bait that serves a piece of both of those markets. We just said, hey man, what will help some shrimp stay on a little longer? And that's kind of how we arrived at it. And like I said, I mean, our goal is to make friends in this business, you know, to partner with people. We think there's money to be made for everyone, and we think there's fish to be caught for everyone. So we're not the kind that come in. We know we're the new kid on the block, and we just appreciate you know, a place at the table. We have been you know, reached out to on several occasions about, hey, we'd like to get this in a bait shop or a tackle shop or whatever, and we're just not there yet. Not that we couldn't be. It's more of a choice for us that we just want to make sure that we've gotten the very best product where it is, and there's still some tweaks that we're working out before we get to that point. And I really just don't want to lose autonomy of our product and, you know, how we market it, who we market it to. I like the notion that it's a little exclusive and that every batch is a small batch. You know, we're not mass producing this in some factory somewhere, but we are making enough of it to where we can fill orders across the country too. So we have the capability to increase pretty considerably with what we're just doing right now. And as long as it's manageable and we're having a good time with it, that's what we want. You know, for me, it's big to have something that we created. You know, so for my boys and our family, something we can be proud of. You know, we don't like just giving our, you know, swag, our hats, shirts, or, you know, product just to anybody. You know, we want to put it in the hands of people that care about fishing, do it for the right reasons, you know, are not hoarding all the information to themselves. You know, these guys are taking kids out and you know, just doing community stuff, man, that fires us up because that's what we're all about anyway. I mean, from my professional background, I mean, we've always been about helping people, specifically kids. And we think this is a product that, you know, has some legs to be able to help some organizations like you've referenced in this podcast, where, you know, some of our nonprofits that can get kids out there, because we just got to get them out there and not on those video games all the time. I mean, I see it in my own house all the time. And for folks that don't have somebody at home that's already doing that, you know, it's great to have organizations like, you know, Kids Can Fish, you know, to be able to, you know, expand it so that it's not a lost art. That's a biggie for me. Forgotten Coast is not only a geographic place, but the notion of being forgotten is important to me in that so much about fishing, can easily be forgotten with all of the new technology and all the hype. So for us, keeping it simple, it's a very simple product. It's not an overly scientific method that we use, but we want to pay homage to kind of the traditional piece of fishing, but give it a new twist.
Yeah, getting the kids out because we've already got the addiction. Captain Dave
Oh, yeah.
Hansen. That's one thing that Captain Dave really hammered home for me one time. He's like, "You've already got the addiction. Give it to them. They need it." We're all really just we're just training the next generation to take over for us because we're not going to be here forever. And hopefully we pass down some fun stuff that they can pass on to theirs, and we got that. And then it's fun on the podcast because now it's a forever thing. So they'll always have something to go back and go, well, my great grandfather, he talked about fishing. And this is how they did it back in the 2000 range. It's like, yeah, that's how we did it. And you
In the
guys and your
20s.
new technology. Oh boy, I love these kids. All right, let's talk about some wins here. You've had this out, you've had it beta tested, you've had it prog testing. You got people now that you're like, all right, we got something here. Have there been any particular memorable success stories or super catches that you're like, dude, that was awesome?
You know, and I'm not just saying it because we're on the show. I think this right here has been kind of just being able to be invited and be part of something like this has been a big step for us. Because we're just a small group of just a little family business that is just excited to have, like I said, a seat at the table. But I think as far as like big wins, it's just been some of the connections that we've had. With either people that wanted to help promote and get our product out there, or give us genuine feedback on, hey, this worked okay, but this, we used to have an issue with our product staining. All right. So to begin with, the coloring would come off on your fingers, which, we're clean now. I got just a little tad. But it was like it was just dyed product or something to begin with. So I think that, just having really good people that weren't trying to, you know, be ugly about it, but just saying, hey man, you got a really cool thing here, but your color sucks. Or hey, you got a really good thing here and we're catching something, but it's too small. I think that we're using every opportunity in a quality platform to engage with people that we share common values with as it relates to what we're doing. Like I said, I want to be to the point one day when I walk into a place that maybe if our product is sold or they're using it somewhere, that we can be proud of it and don't have to run from them and answer questions about why doesn't it do or whatever. I mean, we want to be as straight up with it, and the same product that I would give to my dad or use with me and my own boys or my next door neighbor or whomever, that's the same product we're going to be sending out to San Diego. And that's important to us, that there's not the for sale or this is our retail, but this is the good stuff. It's all our best, very, very best product. And I do say, it is an evolution. So if you bought from us early or you were a tester from us, early on, come back to it, because what we have now compared to what we started with in June and July is light years ahead. My wife mentioned to me the other day, because I was talking about just where we are, where the company was going, and all that. And she's like, Matt, you do realize y'all just started this in June of this year, right? And I was like, man, I didn't even think about that. I mean, and we kind of missed the spring season and all of that. And I know that there are a lot of folks that are really ramping up right now, and we've been sending out product the last couple of days. But we've just been really proud of where we've come as far as just getting our product out there and continuing to evolve our product to something that really, really hits to what it is we want to do. And that's find success with catching fish. That's bring people together without cell phones and do something. And what better than fishing?
Definitely. And when this airs, like we talked about, it's going to air in December timeframe. I have the oddest feeling that this bait's going to do something special in winter water. Call me crazy. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put a Vegas bet on that one.
Well, we have seen indications of that being a trend. I will say that. You know what you know, and you know it because of your experiences or what you've read or who you've talked to. And this whole company has opened up a whole nother, lens for me about how people fish, people that fish year round, different conditions in different parts of the country and things of that nature. So, I've always been a spring, early fall, when it gets into that under 50, I'm kind of out, or have been. And, I've just found that there are lots of people that are catching more fish now than they were, a couple months ago. And that really excites me. And I think that we're getting into what excites me is I know I'm putting product in people's hands that know something about fishing. So we've kind of moved away from weekend Charlie and Cindy, that are just down on vacation and want to throw out something and see what they catch. Folks that are catching or fishing in these conditions, they're not out there just see, hey, let's throw one out and see what we can do. I mean, they know something about it. So we're really excited about the feedback we're getting with this new and improved, if that's the word for it right now, but a much more user friendly and much more effective product now. A couple of months later.
No, you guys are doing good things there. Um, are there any future directions or innovations you're excited to explore in this realm?
Um, I think, like I said, we just want to continue to build our network. We're not into millions of followers necessarily. We're into, good quality followers. So I think, the next endeavor for us is we intend on remaining a quasi small business where we're handling those operations. So I think the challenge for us is probably going to be finding that balance between, being able to put product out for people, but also keep it manageable where we're not having to turn it over to somebody to make it happen. So, that I would say that's probably our next step. We feel really good about our product and procedure to make the product right now. There'll be a few tweaks, and like I said, we're still dinking around with different coloring options and all that, but primarily we're on the same thing. So if to answer that question with just one thing, I would say probably just our knowledge base of who knows who we are and what we have. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to, show the world essentially what our product is and how they can get it.
Perfection all across. All right, well, let's get you into the closing questions, get you out of here, back to your day. Do you have for beginners, someone's just starting out in the surf fishing? What's one piece of advice you'd give them to set them on the right path?
Um, I would say, unlike any other fishing, to me, it's whatever comes by in so many different ways. So you can't get caught up with what are you targeting so much as what's out there. I think, we can get really, especially if you spend a lot of time on socials, these people, it's like, well, how do they know they're going to catch this fish? And I know there are certain things that go with different types of fishing and what you're targeting. But when you're just straight surf fishing, in my opinion, you never know what's going to come by. You never know what's going to be hungry. You never know. So my biggest thing is get a hook in the water, keep that thing loaded up with some salt strike or whatever you're using, and just be patient. Catching's not fishing. That's kind of our sort of motto at my house. And our slogan at FC Fish Co. is we didn't catch your first fish, but we can help you with your next. And that's kind of where we are is we realize, hey, we're coming into this thing late. We're dealing with a lot of people that already have the addiction. They already have the sickness, right, Brian? So we're just trying to give them another option or give something that's really palatable, affordable, and user-friendly to people that maybe are trying to get into this and just maybe have been a little bit apprehensive of, all of the things that are out there.
Good stuff, man. Before we wrap up, do you have any final thoughts, tips that you'd like to share with listeners who are interested in fishing for the, getting into fishing and then also into trying out the bait?
Yeah, as far as just advice to anybody that's new, like I said, I would just say get out there. Find a find a place, make a plan. You know, if you know somebody that does a little fishing, you'd be surprised at how many people will go if you invite them, especially if they think that you're new to it and they can be your person that you're teaching things to. I mean, I don't know about everyone else, but that kind of stuff excites me. Not that I know anything more than anybody else, but just to be able to say, hey, man, isn't this fun? You know, you didn't know this is how you do it. I'll never forget Chip, just to go back to Sinker Guy. When we first started out, he called me and we were chatting. And he said, hey, man, I'm just going to be real honest with you. You do something that bothers me. And I said, oh, man, okay. What? And he said, it's your rigs. He said, they're good rigs. He said, you're using good product and all that. He said, but you know you're tying your hooks on backwards.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be the hook. I knew it. Chip's a very big proponent about the hooks.
And I said, I had no idea. And he's like, oh, yeah. And he explained it to me and all that. So I did make the change, and I did catch some fish. And, you know, even somebody that's been doing it my whole life, I mean, I don't know to what degree of success I've had or whatever, but for somebody that's pretty comfortable in any fishing situation, to have someone give me some, pretty direct, feedback like that was awesome for me. Because it said, hey man, this guy gives enough craps right now to mention this to some dude he doesn't know how I'm going to react to that, doesn't do anything. Frankly, he didn't give a crap because he's Chip. But for me, I was like, man, this dude, this is valuable, man. This is valuable information. And I found that I do that with people, my buddy John Avalos and some of the others, or Rich, I'm asking them questions because not only are their species and maybe fishing styles a little different than what I do and what I've been exposed to, but I know that can be taught to new people, whether that's kids or even grown-ups. But my advice would be, man, if you want to go fishing, reach out to somebody that does. If you don't have anybody like that and you just want to get some basics, reach out to somebody on social media and just see. By and large, we're one of the most friendly tribes I've found, and we're always looking for more people to get into it with. So that would be my advice to a new person just getting into it.
Good advice, man. Absolutely. Where can listeners find more about the bait content? What's the websites and all the other socials? And they will be linked back too.
Yeah. So our website is fcfishco.com. And you can buy product direct there. We are on social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we're on TikTok. Our largest following by far is Facebook, but that's just where we spend most of our time. I don't know that any one of them is any better for our brand. We just chose that one to begin with because we just saw more interaction with actual fishing people and not just people that liked a funny video or whatever. So, but our Facebook is at FC Fishco. Same with Instagram as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And like I said, everybody, that will be linked back on all the stuff for the website or for over to his website. Wow, I can't even talk. It'll be linked back on findingnemosurffishing.com. It'll also be linked on the social medias where you heard this episode from. You'll be able to find it back through that. And if you have questions, you can always reach out to both of us. Yeah, you've heard what the names are. Hey, what website was that? Yeah, we got you covered. All right, final question. We'll get you out of here, Matt. What's next for you?
Just continuing to grow our brand. I think that's a big piece. I think whether we're talking about fishing bait or any other product, branding is so important. Having something we can stand by. And I think the best way to do that is to continue to pump out good product, continue to, reach out to people and also be, approachable to our customers. If you shoot us if you follow us on our any of our socials or go to our website and fill out a form to be, on our mailing list, we're going to get back to you. We're checking all of our own socials and all that stuff. So if you send us a instant message and we see it, we're going to get back to you, and it'll be me or one of our other folks that does help with that. But I think for us is just, holding course of what we know works, knowing what people want, and just trying to really market that and get that out more. I don't know that we're, like I'd already mentioned on this, we kind of downsized from, some things that we felt like were more just of a distraction of our core business than anything else. So we'd really like to just to expand our brand. You know, as you catch more fish with Salt Strike, more people buy hats, more people buy shirts, all the things. So again, whether it's our Salt Strike bait or any of our swag that we sell, we're selling it at a point basically that we're trying to just cover our costs on it. You know, we're not trying to just get rich on things. And you know, I took a lot of inspiration from the Salt Life stickers, you know, that we've seen for the last 2 decades around. And I've always thought, you know, what is that? You know, it's an idea, but it's a really good branding job is what that company's done. So if we can couple a really good product with some really good branding, we feel really good about that. And our social media presence got us here today, and you know, has made us somewhat relevant in this market. And we just really appreciate everybody that we've talked about on this show, and everybody that, you know, we didn't mention, but you know who you are, that have helped us get to this point so far.
Well, great stuff. I look forward to seeing the innovation in the future, and you guys are doing great things. Thank you so much for coming on the show, talking about it, sharing your knowledge, and I look forward to seeing and speaking with you more in the future.
Brian, thank you again for having us. And if there's anything we can do for you or any of your partners, just let us know.
Will do. All right, Matt. Thanks. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this episode's been educational for you. It has been for me. It's pretty interesting stuff there. I am very excited to see how this goes and where it runs. As you can see, Matt's good people, talking good, and you can tell he cares a lot about it. So you've been listening to Finding Demo Surf Fishing. If this episode helped you, don't forget to share it out to somebody. That's the way we help each other, as we all grow from each other. That's the big goal of this show. It always has been, always will be. I want you to catch more fish, and I want you to be able to do it wherever you go, no matter what part of the world you're in. I just want you to catch fish. Again, you listen to Finding Demo Surf Fishing. I'm out of here.